Hello there, and good evening. Good evening to you. Welcome to Money Matters Mondays. And I am your host for this evening. My name is Judy, and I'm here to help you understand different aspects of financial literacy. And tonight we're going to do just a cursory review of some things that we've gone over. We've gone through the entire month of January, and now we're at the standpoint where we're actually going over into February, where February will be Credit 101. So we'll be spending in depth amount of time every Monday at 7 o'clock to make sure that we fully understand our own credit. As I told you before, that we need to know what your paperweight is. So we're going to be able to ascertain what that is. I've asked everyone to go onto the free credit reporting sites to actually get your credit report so that you can get it and we can start looking at those things that are affecting how others are viewing you. And when I say others, mainly your banking institutions, those that have the ability to grant you credit. And we want to make sure that all of the that our reports are error free. And then if there are things that are not error free, how to actually remove those things from our credit reports and to make sure that we are standing in a very good position that we deserve to have the best that's out there. So mark it on your calendars. As we said before, make sure that when you do come out, that you always have a pen and you have a notebook because there's always something that's going on that might just pique your interest so that you can actually recall that information, or there's a scenario that comes up and you can say, oh, I remember I learned that on Money Matters Mondays. So today what we're going to do is something a little different, and it's actually something that's fun because we've gone through all of the different phases of credit, knowing about the 15, 30, 20, knowing about how to save, what you should save, what's necessary, understanding, looking at your paychecks, understanding the difference between net receipts and gross receipts. We've gone through a multitude of things, but I just want to make sure that today that we have a little fun that's a little different than what we have been doing. And today we're going to go over the seven types, the seven money personality types. So whoever thought that there were money personality types, but the seven are, and we're going to look at them in depth, and maybe we can identify where we fall into these particular categories, because the first thing about any problem is that when you can analyze what it is, then you can actually formulate a plan on how to either remedy it or extend it. So the first one is the compulsive saver. Second, the compulsive spender. Third, the compulsive moneymaker. Fourth, the indifferent to money. The fifth is the saver splurger. The sixth is the gambler. And the seven is the worrier. The worrier. Okay. So the compulsive saver, let's take a look at that one. Now, I hope you can join in the chat so that we can have an interactive session, because this right here is more so for our information. We've kind of talked about saving and what we have to give up and things like this. So now we're going to look at our personalities and how they roll into this. So the compulsive saver, they say, it puts away money endlessly, at times with no actual goal end in mind. So it's just like they just save, 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 save. They don't even have a reason for it. As we remember, we talked about the reason for budgeting was to actually make sure that we can have a goal, we work towards that goal, and that either it's achievement for a specific reason, like for an emergency fund, for Christmas, or if you're trying to buy a home or a car, that you would have those down payments. But here, this particular personality type is that They're just a compulsive saver. They have no rhyme or reason. They just like to do it. They just like to do it. And then the pitfall of that is that when you're just like that, you're so afraid that you're going to lose money that you lose the ability to enjoy life. Life is all about moderation, how we do things and how we handle things, and that we don't live in excess of anything, but we do enjoy life. And you don't have to just hoard down that you can't do anything. The next one is the compulsive spender. You tend to spend money on impulse purchases and things you don't necessarily need, regardless of your financial situation. So, those that sit and you watch the QVC channels and all the other little shopping channels, and you go, "Ooh, I think I want that." And you push the button, and then you end up ordering these things, and then you don't even use them. You just get them, the package comes, you throw them in the back of the closet, and then when you get ready to actually clean out the closet, you start to discover all these things, and you go, "When did I get that? Where did that come from?" But because of the compulsion that you have, and it's so funny because the marketeers actually pry on these things, and they know that they have buzzwords and the way they present things, and it makes people make compulsive purchases. That is why infomercials are infamous, because the infomercial will tell you that you need it, you got to have it, and we get sucked right into it. It's like, oh, let me order that. Oh, how many dust mops do you need? How many self-wringing mops do you need? Oh, they came out with a better one. They how many blender cups do you need? That was one big one. That, oh, that's a smaller one. I could take it with me, instead of the one that I have in the kitchen. So if you are a compulsive spender, you just gotta have just that, gotta have it. I have to say that used to be me. I go to shopping. One of my favorite stores was Ross, and I could spend time in Ross, hours in Ross, and I could always justify why I needed something. Oh, I'm going to need that, and would never need it, and would sit around and ended up having to give it away or donate it somewhere. But compulsive spenders will often continue going on shopping sprees, even if they have large amounts of credit card or buy now or later debt. It doesn't matter. It's just that need you have to fill. And then so they may even try to hide large purchases from their partners. Now, here's a real story. I self confess, transparent, I was a compulsive spender. And I never forget, I bought a pair of shoes from, I think it was Neiman Marcus. And I put them up in my closet up on the shelf. Now, I was gonna go and bring them out when I said, "Oh, I always had those. I didn't get anything new. I don't, those are shoes I already had." And I tended on doing that. Well, I did not find the shoes for about a year. And then when I found them, I didn't know. I was like, "Well, how did these shoes get here? Well, where did these shoes come from?" I could not remember because I had stuffed them in the back trying to hide an excess purchase that I was making. And my husband, he just shook his head. He just said, "Just a shame, just a shame. You buy so much, you've forgotten what you buy." And that's one of the downfalls. So luckily I didn't jeopardize us financially doing it. But yes, compulsive spending. I buy for you, I buy for me, I buy for anybody just to go through that particular thing. So that's number two, the compulsive spender. Number three, we have the compulsive moneymaker. You believe that earning more money is the secret of happiness. So you work to the bone, you work to the bone. You got to keep working. As they say, you got to get that bag. You got to get that bag. So you're constantly grinding, grinding, grinding because you have to make money. You spend most of your time and energy trying to make as much money as possible. You are likely running after promotions, working on multiple side hustles, or job hopping to elevate your financial status. You get pleasure from the approval and the recognition of others for your financial success. Compulsive money makers. Now, can you identify with any of those people? that are in your particular maybe job or just family or associates that you could say that I know someone like that. I know someone absolutely like that. And one of the pitfalls of this is that compulsive moneymakers are usually on a strong path to achieving financial freedom. However, they can enter dangerous territory if they start neglecting their health or important relationships or priorities growing their wealth. Now, we know that happens with a lot of people that are so obsessed with money making that they miss weddings, they miss birthdays, they miss births of children, they miss, relationships with friends and trips and all these different things. And at the end of the day, they end up neglecting themselves and excusing conditions and things that happen with them, and then they find that their health has started to fail or gotten beyond a place of repair, then they're ending up with some type of ailment that if they had just taken care of themselves, they wouldn't be in that predicament. So the compulsive money maker, that's the one. Okay, then we have the one number four, the indifferent to money. The signs of an indifferent to money personality are you rarely think about money, and just the idea of creating a budget or investing makes you nauseous. It's just like, I just can't do it. It's just too much. I'm just overwhelmed by that. What do you mean? Make a budget. What is a budget? I don't understand that. Have you ever met anyone like that? They just can't see that. Why is it even necessary? In extreme cases, you believe that money is inherently bad or evil, and that it would be corrupting to have too much of it. You feel strongly that money shouldn't influence important decisions in life. So you're just kind of indifferent about it. It's just like, "Mm, okay, that's money is not, you don't have to do all of this stuff. Money is not that important." And the pitfall of that is that many people are indifferent to money. They feel that they don't need too much money to be happy, which is a healthy mindset in principle. But things can get difficult if they're not responsible with their finances or don't understand how money works. Now, we have that where you have people that go forward and they go, "Oh, I'll get more money. I'm not worried about it. There's no need for a budget. What are you talking about? There's tons of money. I don't need to do that." And it's almost like being reckless uh, with money or your handling of money. Just thinking that there's just another bucket of money sitting around and you could just go pluck it like a flower. That's kind of how that is. Then we have number five. Number five is the saver splurger. And the signs of the saver splurger are you share common traits between saver and splurger. Excuse me, saver and spenders. You start out saving a lot of money, but then give into your spending impulse. Now, how have we done that? We go to the start out the beginning of the year, and we say, okay, we're going to start ourselves with a savings account, and every week I'm going to put $50 in this savings account. Well, by the time that you get to month number 6 in doing this, you see that your bank has arisen to the point of $600. Now, remember, you were on a plan, on a course while you were doing this, but you saw that money and you go, "Oh, wow, I can buy this now." Out the window goes the reason for you actually saving, the goal that you had in mind. That goes out the window. But here you are, you go, "Oh, I've been wanting this. Now I got the money. It's not coming from my household money, my budget money, none of this stuff. And this is just free money that I have. And I really, really, really wanted this. I really wanted that piece of jewelry, or I really wanted that coat, or I really wanted that outfit, or whatever it may be. I wanted to go on a trip. This is what I really wanted to do, and I can just modify it, and I can go do that right now. So all caution is to the wind. Your whole plan and discipline that you have for 6 months is gone. You start out saving a lot, but then you give in to the impulse. When do you use your savings? You might spend on things that you don't or will rarely use. You say you want to go on a trip too. Yeah. Say we all want to go on a trip. And then it talks about that the pitfalls that it can emotionally exhaust you to constantly swing from compulsive saving to compulsive splurging. So, you just going back and forth, and then it's just like after you feel defeated at one point because you've worked so hard and you could see the progress, but in all one fell swoop you kill all your progress, so you start back at zero. So you could see how that could be actually depressing, that when it actually happens that way, that you could actually kind of burn your own self out. You're like, what is the reason why am I doing this? Because it's not even going to matter, because I'm just going to sabotage my own self in doing the things that I'm doing. So we have to make sure that we watch out for that, because we could all fall into that particular category, and it could actually, excuse me, y'all. I thought I put my phone on do not disturb. Now, there it goes. So we can all find ourselves in that particular issue, you know, that we feel defeated once we've gone through the discipline of trying to save and then come and wipe it out in one fell swoop. Okay, so now we have number six, the gambler. Number six is the gambler. And you share common traits between the moneymaker and the spender. You find thrills in risking a lot because of the hope of reward and the pleasure that such a reward could bring. The gambler. At times, you gamble away your money just to escape boredom. Now, how many of you have been in Vegas, say for instance, and you playing the slot machine, and initially there's an exhilaration that happens, and you're putting your little coin in it, whether it's a quarter or a dollar or whatever you're doing, and you're feeding this machine in hope of a payday. And so the excitement builds and it builds, and that's how the machine is actually set up, is to keep drawing you in. So you give, and then all of a sudden it spits out a little bit. You give, and then it spits out a little more. And then after a while, after you've won so many times, you have the nerve to get bored with it, but not willing to walk away. But you just continue to feed it out of boredom. It's just like, I don't care if I win or lose. It's not my money. It's the casino's money. I'm doing this. And, I'm not losing, but I'm just bored. I just keep doing it. This is kind of what that is like when you're like the gambler. You could be putting it into not even stock, I mean, uh, machines, but you can actually be putting it into bad stock. You see it's failing, you see it's constantly losing, but you just keep on investing money in it, investing money in. Oh, one day it's gonna come. I know the market's going to turn around and I'm going to be in there right when it does it. That's a gambler. You're not looking at what's going on before you, but you're just doing it in hopes that there will be this big win that comes. You can look at that with uh, lotto tickets, the lottery, all these different things that put you in that particular class because you're waiting to encounter this big win. And even when you're not winning, you're constantly giving the same thing. Now, one of the biggest pitfalls is it's not unusual for gamblers to encounter big wins or devastating losses. In an extreme case, gambling gets out of control and the gambler might dip into things like their retirement savings or make up for losses along the way. So, sometimes when you get in those type of situations, you actually kind of lose your focus of what you're doing things, because people do sometimes they go into their retirements and they wipe their retirements out. Sometimes they borrow against assets that no one knows until something happens, and then you find out They borrowed all the money against things. So it is a very dangerous thing. But what you should do is always do self reflection if you find yourself in that particular scenario, and be very strict with yourself with finances. And if you have money that's out there that you're tempted by, use vehicles that will actually make you money, but it will take away the urge. Say, for instance, if you had excess money and you actually have this particular personality trait, that maybe you start looking at CDs where you can lock your money up for 24 months. So in 24 months, that particular yearning or desire is going to wane, because no matter what, you can't get your money unless you're willing to lose more money to get your money. And most of the time, that's a very sobering fact when they tell you about the penalty, the early penalty that you have to pay to withdraw money out of a CD that's locked in at a certain rate. So, that is another type of vehicle. If you find yourself in that particular predicament, that you can self discipline yourself because you can't handle the access of having these things without causing damage. And then our final one is the worrier. The worrier, no matter how much money you have, you are constantly worried about losing it. Have you ever seen the little movies where they have the rich man, and that he has all of his money down in the basement of his house, and he goes down there and he has to excuse me, he has to touch it, he has to count it all the time. He's counting just how many baubles that he has, how many silver coins he's had. He knows no one is going down there, but he has to constantly do that kind of stuff, constantly touch and feel to make sure that nothing has gone away or nothing has been taken from him. And that is another type of compulsive personality type that actually is the worrier, always worried about losing it. And a lot of people, like those type of people, they don't trust banks. They keep their money under the mattress. They have to touch and feel it because they're worried somebody's going to take their money. Now, knowing that we have laws right now that with the FDIC, where it's actually a federal government law that every bank has to insure the money up to $200,000 per person that has a deposit up to that high. So if you put 200,000 in there, it's actually covered by the government. Um, but a lot of people, they just don't trust it. They just don't trust it at all. So they keep their money under mattresses, in pillowcases, in Bibles. It's just random things that they do. And then when they actually do that, um, because of they constantly obsess over that, I don't want to run out of money. I don't want anybody to steal my money and then I need it and I don't have it. I don't ever want to be without. And that's kind of like where you start to talk a little bit about a poverty mindset. When people are like that they believe that what they have, nothing else will come to them, or they come from an era where they were basically kind of taken advantage of, and it was hard for them to recoup. So they worry about those things, that the money, they're going to run out and they're not going to have anything. They had those existence and different things like that. Um, but that's kind of where they are. It's one of the pitfalls is it's smart to think about what could happen if you don't financially prepare for your future. But letting worry and anxiety eat away your happiness in the present moment is never a good thing. You have to make sure that this thing does not consume you. Being a worrier causes all kind of problems in your life, not only on your mental status but your physical status too, because if you're so worried about being away or detached from your money, you'll never go anywhere. You always have to stay close to it. And if you have a lot of it, guess what, you can't draw it around with you, because if you ended up, something happened to you, god forbid, You would be subject to losing it, whether someone would steal it from you or you would just lose it or whatever may happen. And devastation will be the next thing that you will deal with. And then it says, here's a money tip in regards to this. It says, start by working and understanding where your financial worries are coming from. This is what I was talking about earlier when people sometimes come from different errors where people have taken advantage of them and how they lost and they were devastated and how hard it was for them to recoup. It says talking to a family member, a financial coach or advisor, or a therapist might help you with this. In doing so, you could increase your confidence and security by having your money work for you instead of keeping it in your bank account or stashed at home where it will be depreciated value due to inflation. So, these are a couple of tips that we have to look at money on a whole different level because when we start to talk about financial knowledge and understanding the concept of finance and money and how it all works, we talked about all the time when we started initially in this that we have to change our mindsets, and a lot of times when you talk about mindsets, the way that you change your mindset is first you have to become aware of what you believe, and then from that point that's where you can work on the change coming. So we had a couple of things. Let me see, is there any questions in the chat? Because as I said, I wanted this to be interactive so that we could talk about this a little bit, or if there were any questions about this, because the way that we grow and the way that you get the best of me is that when we do have questions and answers, because it allows me to share what maybe you might not have understood something that I said, or you need more explanation on it, and that it makes clear for both of us so that I can make sure that you fully walk away fully engaged and fully knowledgeable of particular things. Let's see. Poverty mindset, the worrier. Um, never had enough money to worry about, but that changes now. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you think about, you say, I never had enough money to worry about. But in essence, when we usually think about it, it's just like having a large amount of money. But when we don't have large amount of money, sometimes we can worry about those things. We could worry about all of the things that are out there, that I can't spend this because I won't be able to get this, or I can't let go of this because I'm going to need this for this. And a lot of times when we manage money effectively, there are two principles that we work with. Um, we work with man's principles and we work for God with God's principles. And what God tells us that He will supply, His word is true. It is exactly that. It is. But as we walk in the natural man, these are some natural personality traits that actually go on. And we all, to be transparent, we all struggle with different things. But God tells us basically how to actually handle everything that we need financially because his provisions are very, very clear. He's told us how to live our lives, how to give to him, how to reap from him, and how to take care of the poor and the widows. So he's given us those principles. But a lot of times we get so caught up in the minutia of everything else that's going on that we forget that he has made it very simplistic for us, that he tells us to cast our cares upon him, for he cares for us. So if someone cares for you, that means that they're looking out for your best good. They're looking out to help you to be better, to get past things, that they have things that, he tells us that why do we have to worry about anything? Do the birds of the air worry about anything? Do the lilies toil? No, they just do what they're supposed to, and he takes care of every single thing that is necessary. So, just in case anyone is on here, to let you know that all the information that I offer to you uh, is from personal experience and my personal background. I don't proclaim to be a financial guru or anything like that. And anything that I tell you that I would advise you, as with any information that anyone gives you, to make sure that you do your own research. But I enjoy what I have learned over the years and to be able to share with others, because a lot of times this type of intimacy in learning about finance usually does not happen, because the industry in itself and how it's set up, that it's so fast moving that people just don't take the time to share the wisdom that they have acquired over the years. And I am just so blessed that I have this opportunity and this platform to be able to do these things. But please understand that I solely believe in God, and a lot of my principles will be based on God. And I hope that me calling out God or talking about God does not offend anyone. But if so, I'm letting you know I talk about God. That's just it, because that's what I believe in. And that He leads and guides us. He shows us the way. He makes the path. He just like the breadcrumbs, He leads the breadcrumbs for us. All we have to do is follow those things. But in all of that, it's just a lot of wealth that we actually gain when we start to be able to identify things in ourselves, so that we can say, yeah, that's me. I'm not condemned by it, but yes, that's me. I need to see what I need to do to get out of that particular mindset or personality trait. You know, we talked about 7 different types. Who would have ever known that there were types of personality traits that had to be connected with money? So this is where I come in and kind of try to bridge those gaps and make sure that we're aware of those things that are out there, and making sure that we have full understanding, so that we're God's children and that we deserve the best of everything. And that when we have to learn how to work in man's world, that we have to come correct when we come before, and we look to do things. We have to be correct. So you can't come up here and talk about, oh, well, I'll never pay my bills, and then you're expecting something to happen. Huh? That does not work. There is discipline that is necessary in everything, even what God calls us to. There's discipline that is necessary. Let's see. Um, Sister Kathy, okay, no questions. All right. Man's principle, God's principle. Absolutely. We forgot that God has. Yes, God has made it very simplistic for us. As you know, that we started to learn about before, um, the mitzvah, you know, God's plan to take care and provide charity for the widows, the orphans, um, the homeless. This was God's plan that was actually written in the Torah. And I was doing some other research about different countries, how they actually save money, or their philosophies towards saving. And there was a very interesting one that comes out of the Mexican culture. And what they do is that if there is something large that's coming up, that whether it be a wedding, they're really big with the quinceañeras and different things like that, that they come together as a group. And all those that are involved in that group pay a monthly fee into this particular bank account, so that when that event comes up, that they then have the funds to be able to have these elaborate weddings and quinceañeras that they have. Because some of these quinceañeras that we see, that they are as elaborate as weddings are. They're spending thousands of dollars into these quinceañeras and the weddings. You wonder how they get all these pieces in there. It's that they come from a culture of saving, and through this savings, everybody benefits from it. And what they do is everyone is dedicated to it, and everybody pays their part in it. And constantly, when that person comes up, or whatever the event is that's coming, you basically get your marker in, and everybody pays toward making that thing a success. Now, think about it. They've used a basic principle, the same thing that God has told us what we need to do. That if we do these things, then everybody can be cared for when the time arises or when that need arises. And that there's no need for stress or strain or anybody to come all out of pocket all at one time because you've spread it out where it's much more manageable. God's told us those plans too. So there were it was interesting. Maybe when we start credit, maybe I might try to introduce it, just a brief overview of it. But it covered what China does. China saves 76% of its income. 76. They're savers, savers, savers. Then they had things with Japan, how Japan has another type of budgeting and managing system where uh, they actually use a ledger and they use their money. It's just like an accountant, the way that they manage their money, because they can feel and see, and then they can actually document what's going on. There were other things. India has its own type. It was Mexico. Um, there were a few more, but those were the ones that really stood out to me because of the particular dedication to how they saved and what means they used to save it and for the benefits of different things. Because in the end, there was always a goal in mind with their saving. But I think of all that, with China saving 76% of their income was massive. That's saying a lot that you save 70% of your income. So most people, when you talk about budgeting, you talk about living below your means. Don't try to live above your means, but live below your means. That's way below your means. You know, 24% of their income, that's what they're living off, and they're saving 76%. So, different methods for different people. Let's see. God's ways is the best way. Absolutely. 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 Thank you, Sister Lynette. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Quinceañeras are expensive. And if you've ever had the opportunity to go to a quinceañera, you see that it starts out with like the preparation for a wedding. There's full planning. There's every single thing. You have food, DJ, logistics. I mean, dress, hair, jewelry, it's just a lot to it, but it's a wonderful thing. But I will not keep you any longer. If there are not any other questions from anyone, um, if not, if you would like a copy of this actual information that I got, it came from moneymarshmallow.com. There are a lot of financial literacy type things that are out there. And when I find things that are think that are interesting, I try to bring it to us so that we can be prepared. But make sure that you are here next week. Have your credit reports with you because we're going to start hitting it and going to hit it hard. We're going to go through every part of it. And if you don't have your credit report, you're going to be lost when we start to talk about identifying everything. Okay. So God bless you all. I will see you next Monday and we will start Credit 101. Okay. God bless. Have a good evening.